There were a few horror films in July that I didn't get around to reviewing, so I figured this would be a great time to go through a few of my recommends from July. 2 of these films are on Shudder and one of them is on Netflix, and I'll be sure to call that out once I get into the reviews. So let's get into our first film, which is the one that's actually playing right now in the background, and that is Impetigore, which is currently streaming on Shudder. This Indonesian horror film was directed by Joko Anwar, who also directed the 2017 film Satan's Slaves. The film follows Maya and her best friend Dini, who are trying to survive in the city, and an attack on Maya sends her on a journey to discovering where her family is from, which leads her to this remote village. But unfortunately for Maya and Dini, they're about to uncover some deep and dark secrets in this village. Although I enjoyed Satan's Slaves by Joko Anwar, I think Impetigore is a far superior film. First off, the film is super creepy. It has this feeling of dread right from the get-go. The opening scene alone is what really pulled me into this film, and it really didn't let go. I love the cinematography, the use of color, as well as lighting. When the film starts, it has more cooler tones and the camera is grounded, but when the film descends into a full-on nightmare, there's more brown and dingy tones to the film, and the way that the camera moves feels more disembodied and organic. The cast is fantastic and believable, and I felt that the gore and the practical effects were pretty damn good. I do have a couple of issues with the film though. One is that there are some random jump scares that actually turn out to be false scares, and my second issue being an overly long flashback sequence. But other than that, I really enjoyed this film and I'd highly recommend checking it out on Shudder, which is why I'm going to give Impetigore an add to the collection. If you already have Shudder, this should definitely be at the top of your list. Next up is the Netflix original series, Ju-On Origins. This 6-part series is directed by Sho Miyake and is based off of the well-known Japanese horror franchise Ju-On, also known in the States as The Grudge. Full disclosure, I've seen the original Ju-On along with the first American remake and the most recent American remake. So going into this series, I had a little bit of knowledge of the franchise, but went in pretty blind. And I gotta say, this show exceeded my expectations. I wasn't prepared for how disturbing, unsettling, violent, and gory the show is. I actually made a post on Instagram and Facebook about how intense the show was only at episode 3. Little did I know that once you get to episode 4, that's when things really get even more disturbing, which I was not expecting. I really like the fact that each episode is about 30 minutes long and only 6 episodes, so it's a really easy watch. I felt the performances overall were really good. There was one character that I felt like was a little odd, and there's a scene where the character's face is revealed, and I don't want to go into any spoilers. It doesn't totally fit the tone of the rest of the show. I also feel that it helps to be a fan of J-horror, and this felt like a throwback to the late 90s and early 2000s J-horror. What was most surprising to me was that this actually genuinely spooked me out, and I had a couple of bad dreams after finishing the show. It really got under my skin, which is why I have to give it an add to the collection. If you're looking for a truly creepy show, Ju-On Origins absolutely fits the bill. The last film I'm recommending dropped just yesterday on Shudder, and it is Host. This Shudder original clocks in at only 56 minutes long, and is framed similarly to films like Unfriended, and has a bit of a Paranormal Activity vibe to it as well. It was also shot during our lockdown, which adds another unique aspect to this film, and it's even brought up during the movie that they're in lockdown, which makes this film feel very much in the now. When it comes to the plot, it's very simple. 6 friends get together for their weekly Zoom call. They arrange for a medium to conduct a seance. When one of the girls pulls a prank during the seance, this invites a demonic presence into the Zoom call to terrorize the girls. While the premise isn't anything new, the fact that this entire film was shot during lockdown via Zoom is incredible. It's also a really lean movie because it is only 56 56 minutes long. It does follow the tried and true formula of other found footage films, so you do expect jump scares just like in those films. I didn't necessarily find this film very scary, but it did make me jump a few times because of the jump scares, and it's also the most accessible film on this list. I also wanted to mention that this is a film from the UK. This also looks to be a first feature film for director Rob Savage, who's done primarily TV and horror shorts. With all that said, Host gets a high weekend rental. This is easily the most accessible film on this list. It's one that's an easy watch at under an hour long. It's not super scary, but it's a very lean found footage horror film, and was quite frankly a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for coming by and checking out this video. Be sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps out the channel a ton. And if you want to support the channel even more, check out my Patreon page. Link, as always, is in the description below as well as on the pinned comment. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you guys on the next video.